I just saw The Devil Wears Prada 2, and I have some thoughts about reboots, reunions, and sequels because they are everywhere right now. And there's a reason for that I didn't know until recently. But first, I have to say, Devil Wears Prada 2 was a sequel that was done right for me. The fashion, the backdrop, the nostalgia, all of it was just visually stunning all around. But that's not always the case with sequels. They don't always give us a good feeling. Last year, I was having a conversation with someone in the film industry, and I just asked them, I said, what is with all the reboots and the sequels lately? And their answer made a lot of sense. There were so many layers to it, but what it really boiled down to is there's a guaranteed audience. So in this video, I'm going to share both the good and the bad about the sequel, reboot, and reunion trend we have all been feeling and seeing lately. So first, the good. Why do we keep seeing these? What is the benefit to the people involved? So sequels, spin-offs, reboots, there are safer bets. If you have a sequel that's coming out on a 20-year anniversary and you have all this hype built up, a guaranteed audience is ready and willing to go buy a ticket to the movie. And not only that, they're buying the merch, they're buying the popcorn purse, they're buying the little wine glasses that say The Devil Wears Prada on the side. But on the flip side, it's not really a guarantee if you have a brand new set of characters, a brand new movie, no one knows about it. So when you compare the two side by side, it actually makes a lot of sense as to why movie studios would do this. And for us, we already know the characters, we already know the plot, or at least the original plot, and we have some excitement and maybe mystery as to what will happen next. Maybe it's something that is iconic, nostalgic, we've binge watched for years, or maybe it had a cult following where we are super invested and plugged into that story, and we're of course going to go see the sequel on the opening day. Really, the only risk for the movie studio is that we are disappointed in the sequel, and by that point we've already bought the ticket, so it's still a win for them. Another win is building a world or universe around that story or characters. If you just have one movie, it's not really building a world around them. It's still great, it still may be iconic, it still may be something that's beloved by all of us, but as soon as you start a sequel and you have the third movie and then you keep going, you've got an entire universe where you can build upon that, and that creates more opportunity for money, experiences for us as the consumers. There's really no limit there. It also helps that nostalgia marketing is so in right now. And the reason for this is it taps into the emotional side, and it's not just a transaction. We know it's not just a movie ticket, it's feeling the emotions and the connection of, I originally watched this 20 years ago when I was much younger. And sometimes with that, you also get new characters that get introduced so that they can be more appealing to a younger audience, because especially with these 20-year, 25-year anniversaries, so much time has passed that there's a whole younger generation that may not be plugged into that original movie. And again, it's not just the movie ticket that they're selling and benefiting from, it's the entire ecosystem around it. With The Devil Wears Prada 2, it was the purse popcorn holder, it was the wine glasses, it was the copy of Runway magazine that got sent out if you ordered it early, or it was on the street in big cities where you could just pick it up for free, I think. It's also the Walmart fashion line. It's the TJ Maxx social media posts. It's all these things that we wouldn't have even seen 10 years ago as far as being the ecosystem around a movie or a sequel. But there's also a bad side to sequels and reboots. And I think we've all experienced this. While it might be easier for a sequel to do well financially just because of the built-in hype around it, it becomes tougher to almost put your money where your mouth is. So how do you guarantee that the audience is going to be happy with the results? It's not just creating a sequel and a new story to go along with the original story. It's also making sure that your audience likes it. Sure, they've already bought the ticket, but if everyone's disappointed in it, that's where it ends. They're not buying the merch, they're not excited, they're not spreading the word. You may even get the negative reviews online, as we've seen with other sequels, which I will definitely be naming names in a second, because we have seen this done so badly, where the remake is so disconnected from the original essence of the story that it turns away an audience that was really loyal to begin with. Sometimes sequels are so serious and it really is detached from the original story. The original movie, The Devil Wears Prada, came out in 2006, which was arguably a much fluffier, more optimistic time in our lives. And if you think about all the movies from the 2000s, they all were this sort of nonsensical, funny, not meant to be taken seriously, especially if they were a comedy or a rom-com. They were just fun. They made us feel good. And we don't see that as much in movies anymore. I think in The Devil Wears Prada 2, they could have easily maximized on the fashion industry changing, AI, they only mentioned AI once. That was plenty because it would have departed so much from the original story. So I think it's okay for the tone to be, okay, there are some changes happening. There's got to be a dilemma in the story, but the dilemma doesn't have to be this doom and gloom that we also see in real life that is almost a little bit too close to reality. So for that, I really appreciated it. As far as not taking it so seriously and keeping it in that funny or fluffy realm, I will be very interested to see how Scary Movie 6, I think it is coming out this year, how that one goes, because as we know, comedy has changed quite a bit, or how comedy is displayed in movies has changed quite a bit. And I know that the Wayans brothers were only involved in the first two. If they're returning back to it, I think there's going to be high expectations that it's going to be just like the original two. So that will be interesting to see if they bring back sort of that goofy 2000s humor, but like with a modern twist. The next one is that some sequels completely forget their original audience. It's like, we don't exist. It's made for somebody else. And I have just seen so many sequels completely ignore the original audience that was so loyal and following the entire time. I have a good example and a bad example. So when I saw Freakier Friday last year, I thought that was done really well. They were bringing in new characters. Those characters appealed to a younger audience that probably never saw the original Freaky Friday in 2004. And so 21 years later, obviously there's a younger audience that would totally love this movie, and they would love the original too. Even though they may not have seen it, they're going to watch the sequel and still be interested because there are characters that are relatable to them. And for us as millennials who did watch it when it came out and we're now seeing the sequel, it didn't change so much that it made it outside of our interest. So we still had the same main two characters. We were just adding to, we weren't taking away from. But then when I see something like a Mean Girls reboot, and I know there's a difference between Mean Girls and the musical, and there's many different versions now, but I feel like it was completely catered to a younger audience. And I think most people that watched the original Mean Girls, which I don't think needed to be remade, just my opinion, I think they departed so far from the original story to make it fit a modern world. And I think the thing that makes it so jarring is the movie goes almost line for line, but with little deviations to, I would say, pander to a younger generation. So that one was a little less exciting to watch, but maybe it just wasn't for me. This kind of brings me to my next point, is just because it's everywhere doesn't mean it has to be included. What I mean by that is there's a certain finesse to approaching the elephant in the room without making it an entire plot. And my example here really hurts as someone who loves this franchise, but Sex and the City, not the original, the reboot, and Just Like That, I feel like it departed so far from the original essence of the story. And it was filmed in the early pandemic days, and I have tried to go back and watch this reboot so many times, and I can't even get past the first 5 minutes. And not only that, but the characters have changed so much. And the first 3 episodes or so just gutted everything that we know and love about Sex and the City. I know there's conflicting opinions about it, but I do hear a lot of disappointment. And I think there was a way to include the pandemic without making it a main character. So as we know, Sex and the City, New York City is a character of the show. It is so part of the show. It is intertwined in everything. It is one of the girls. This completely got rid of that. And that's a huge disappointment as someone who was a loyal fan, who was probably the second generation to watch it because I was too young to be watching it when it first aired. But as the seasons of the original show started unfolding, I probably was old enough to understand it. So I do consider that original audience to be women that were the same age as them. And then maybe a secondary audience would be like millennials that were watching it as they grew up and then rewatched it later. So there's a huge universe around Sex and the City. There's a huge following, and I just feel like the reboot did not do it justice. The original Sex and the City show is so timeless, and this goes back to The Devil Wears Prada 2, where AI is only mentioned once, and yes, there's all these kind of modern things that wouldn't have been in the original, but it was done just enough to where it's still timeless, and it doesn't feel like AI is a main character, which brings me to my next point. I want to feel like no time has passed at all. I feel like that was something done really well in The Devil Wears Prada 2. Yes, I know consciously that 20 years has passed. However, I didn't feel like that. I didn't leave the theater feeling like, oh my gosh, where has the time gone? Sometimes it's drilled into us how much time has passed. I think that's a huge thing with Freakier Friday, which I loved that movie, but I definitely left thinking, how has 21 years gone by like that? That's so long. And I think that's where reunions thrive. Reunions are purposely for saying, here's what's happened since then. Here's who's still in touch. Here's what characters we love. And here's what characters maybe we're side-eyeing 20 years later. later, it's breaking the fourth wall with commentary that we've been dying to hear, straight from the actors that played them. And right now we have the Hannah Montana reunion, which returned back to the set. It was a sit down with a lot of references to the past, and it was really cute. We also have the Laguna Beach 20-year reunion this year. So when a show reaches its 20-year or 25-year anniversary, whether they do a special or not, you're hearing about it. You're seeing it on social media. There's a lot more talk about it because number one, people are saying, how has the time gone by? But number two, they may have something in the works, like a special. So my only gripe is Laguna Beach is not 20 years old, it's 22 years old. So the Hills should actually be having a reunion this year, but the Hills already had a reboot. So yeah, these things are not exact, but Laguna Beach first aired in 2004. I remember because I remember the first trailer that ever came out for it. There was not a show that existed like that. And in the early 2000s, there was no place you wanted to be except California on the beach. California was so it in the 2000s. And the OC had its 20-year anniversary 3 years ago. In 2023, they had their 20-year anniversary. The show went from 03 to 07. And I will say, I'm probably going to do a video on this in the future, but there are pieces of the OC, which I did not watch when it first came out, even though I was of the age to be watching it. I very much should have, could have, but I ended up rewatching it many years later, right when it did its 20-year reunion. So just watched it a few years ago. And there are multiple points in the show where I can see where Laguna Beach started and where The Real Housewives of Orange County started, which was the very first franchise of The Real Housewives, meaning they were completely inspired by this show. The other one that had an anniversary recently, but I was way too young to be watching, was The Sopranos had their 25th anniversary. And that's the thing, is you start hearing about them more. People are posting memes or videos saying, I can't believe The Sopranos is 25 years old. And so in 2024, because the show came out in 1999, I watched it for the very first time. And yeah, it's a lot. It's a very intense show. But I think having those, not necessarily a reunion special, but having an anniversary and even just having it in the social sphere, it encourages people to rewatch that may have missed it the first time. So yeah, a lot of reunions lately, reboots, sequels. We are totally in the sequel economy, if that's the term for it. I'm gonna call it that. And it makes complete sense. Movie studios, social media, and even just us as the audience or the consumers benefit from having these worlds or universes of characters come back up and get to relive that again many years later. And maybe we're getting into a place where we're gonna see standalone movies less and less, brand new characters, brand new movies where we're not already familiar with the characters. Maybe we will see that less. Maybe we are seeing so many more sequels that that's going to become such a part of our world. And I think it's already here. The guarantee is, hey, we knew this was wildly popular many years ago, and we're going to bank on the fact that it's still wildly popular. And I don't know how long that will last. Maybe it's the next 5 years, 10 years. Maybe it's only the next 6 months. We shall see. But I think it's going to be around for a while. And this channel's brand new. I'm going to be talking about nostalgia, pop culture, marketing, business, retail, all the things from a consumer standpoint. If you love nostalgia marketing too, check out this video. And if it's not there, it means I haven't uploaded it yet. Thanks for watching.